Go to ronplacone.com for his concerts.
There you go.
I call them concerts.
Concerts.
I call them
His
concerts.
comedy concerts.
Get this. Headline from the New York Times. Russia's 2016 influence operation targeted African Americans on social media. Oh, my God. And look at the picture they use. It's like almost like a cartoon picture. Like, oh, it's not good enough for me.
We will get them now.
So I just want to... So I don't know if you know, but black people have no idea. They didn't know that they were being... They thought they just wanted Medicare for all and free college. Turns out they were being manipulated by Russians. Didn't know it. So you know what? Hillary Clinton should hire the Russians. Maybe she would have run. Why don't she? Anyway, here, I just want to read through this article. This is in the New York Times. And it's written by someone named Scott Shane and Shira Frankel. This is again, it's not stopping. I thought that this would stop. It's not. I mean the RussiaGate nonsense.
I thought it was going to stop when even Chris Hayes made fun of one of the memes.
Yeah, I'm going to show that in this. Chris Hayes is making fun of this. So I just want to show you this real quick. The Russian influence camp. This is from this article in the New York Times. Remember, the New York Times on their front page put bogus BS information that could have been easily debunked that led us into the Iraq War, and they didn't. So they printed lies right from Dick Cheney's mouth, unedited, on the front page of the New York Times. So now they're doing this. The Russian influence campaign on social media in the 2016 election made an extraordinary effort to target an extraordinary effort to target African Americans, used an array of tactics to try to suppress turnout among Democratic voters. Wow. I thought a lot of those, we did a story about African Americans who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in Milwaukee, and they thought it was because the Democrats didn't do anything for them. Turns out it was because they saw a meme on Facebook. They thought it was because they voted for Barack Obama, and for 8 years he didn't do anything for them. Their lives got worse. That's what they thought. They were wrong. Because the New York Times is there to tell you that there's an extraordinary effort to grab have mind control over African Americans in Wisconsin and Michigan. That's what that New York Times is telling you. It goes on, and unleashed a blizzard of activity. Who chooses these adjectives? A blizzard of activity. What? On Instagram, and that rivaled or exceeded its posts on Facebook, according to you remember how much they spent on Facebook? Wasn't it $100,000, and half of it came after the election? Wasn't that the number?
All part of the plan.
So, but they probably did. What did they do? Did they do 51,000 on Instagram? What the F? That even exceeded its posts on Facebook. Remember, their posts on Facebook was almost nothing. According to a report produced for the Senate Intelligence Committee, a blizzard of activity. The report adds new details to the portrait that has emerged over the last 2 years of the energy and imagination of the Russian effort. The energy and oh my God, they're blizzarding energy and imagination over what? To an effort to sway American opinion and divide the country, which the authors say continues to this day. We're helpless. Russia's running us. We just admit it. We're helpless. We can't do anything in America. Remember when Russia made 80% of our workers live paycheck to paycheck? You don't remember that? Russia did that. Remember when Russia took health care away from 30 million Americans at the behest of corporations? Russia did that. Remember when Russia buried our college-age students under mountains of debt and then made them never be able to get rid of that debt in a bankruptcy? No, remember? You don't remember Russia did that? Remember when Russia got us in 8 wars and bumped up our military budget to $715 billion, bankrupting our treasury? Remember when Russia did that? You don't remember that?
It goes further back than that, Jimmy. I mean, just look at DAPL. Russia has convinced people they need water to survive.
Remember when Russia?
When will it stop?
I bet they've convinced people they need Medicare for all. Isn't that
Crazy.
Something? Crazy, those Russians. Guess who does have Medicare for all? Russia. Anyway, so that's the first 3 paragraphs of this stupid article
Well, Jimmy,
from the New York Times.
I
What?
have to say it's written in such an eloquent manner. This article. It's just like, can you imagine that they figured in to use the word portrait that has emerged over the last 2 years? You know what they're saying? It's taken us 2 years just to get to this point. And when they highlight energy and imagination, I think they're writing about themselves. The imagination we're using to create this Russia narrative for you all to follow. It's a beautiful portrait.
Here is when this is the CEO. I just want to show you this. So I want to show you the words they used again. This is the first 3 paragraphs. Extraordinary effort, a blizzard of activity, energy and imagination. Here's the CEO from Google. And he was being interviewed by Nadler, Congressman Nadler, who's one of the biggest RussiaGators. He said that them hacking the DNC server was equivalent to Pearl Harbor. Nadler said this. And now here he is interviewing.
Okay, thank you.
So now here is Nadler. He said that it was equivalent to Pearl Harbor. Chris Hayes laughed at him when he said that. That's how bad over the top this guy is. And now here he is, and he's asking questions at a hearing of the CEO of Google about how much money did Russia spend on your platforms, on Google platforms, trying to screw us. Ready? Watch the answer.
Okay, thank you. Now, according to media reports, Google found evidence that Russian agents spent thousands of dollars to purchase ads on its advertising platforms that span multiple Google products as part of the Russian agents' campaign to interfere in the election 2 years ago. Additionally, Juniper Downs, head of global policy for YouTube, testified in July that YouTube had identified and shut down multiple channels containing thousands of videos associated with the Russian misinformation campaign. Does Google now know the full extent to which its online platforms were exploited by Russian actors in the election 2 years ago?
We we undertook a very thorough investigation, and in 2016, we now know that there were 2 main ad accounts linked to Russia, which advertised on Google for about $4,700 in advertising. We also found other limited...
Total of $4,700?
That's right. Which was...
Whoa.
Total of $4,700? That's what they spent on all your Google platforms? That's right. Boy, when a conspiracy theorist pushing a guy pushing a Russia conspiracy theory bumps into facts. But sounds like a blizzard of activity, Ron. Doesn't it sound like a blizzard of activity? Sounds like a blizzard. That blizzard only cost $4,700. Here's Chris Hayes making fun of this New York Times article. He says, this is an actual meme from the Russian troll farm in which Jesus counsels someone addicted to masturbation. Reach out to me and we'll beat it together. What is this a prick? Here it is. Here it is. The addiction to masturbation. Reach out to me and we will beat it together. It's like a joke. It is a joke, actually. It's a joke. You can't hold hands with God when you're masturbating.
I'm sorry. Can
Fun fact.
Can Ron do it in a Russian accent, please? Can you read that meme for me?
You can't hold hands with God when you are masturbating. And in Russia, hand masturbates you. You masturbate hand.
Active and ongoing so this is from that New York Times article. Active and ongoing interference operations remain on several platforms, says the report produced by New Knowledge, a cybersecurity company based in Austin, Texas, that nobody ever fucking heard of. Nobody knows who works there, who they are, what their point of view. Nobody knows. Oh, we got a new cyber play. They said this. A bunch of assholes you'd have never heard of.
But if they keep this up, they'll get a contract with the Democratic Party.
You damn right they will. Along with researchers at Columbia University and Canfield Researchers, LLC. Oh, my God. Could you guys waste more time on stupid stuff? You're at Columbia University, and this is what you're doing? One continuing Russian campaign, for instance, seeks to influence opinion. Oh, my God. They're trying to influence your opinion on Syria by promoting Bashar Assad, the Syria. Boy, that certainly has that. How could you possibly That's going to overcome the ubiquitous 24/7 billions and billions of dollars of pro-invade Syria and overthrow Assad coverage that we've been getting. I bet you that did it. The Russians, they put a meme somewhere on Google or Facebook, and that's it. Everybody switched their mind about Syria.
How do you feel about Syria? Well, wait until our blizzard. It's coming.
There's a blizzard coming. The New Knowledge Report is one of the two commissioned by the Senate committee on a bipartisan basis. They are based largely on data about the Russian operations provided to the Senate by Facebook, Twitter, and other companies whose platforms were used. So they took the data from all the social media people, and then they figured all this out, that Russia's still got control of everybody in America's mind. It's amazing. The second report was written by a computational propaganda project at Oxford University, along with Graphica, a company that specializes in Could you guys go get real jobs? Could you go analyze something actual? The Russia influence campaign in 2016 was run by a St. Petersburg. No, this is in this New York Times. Oh, I forgot to put it. But this is from the New York Times article. It says the Russian influence campaign in 2016 was run by a St. Petersburg company called the Internet Research Agency, owned by a businessman, Yevgeny V. Prigozhin, who is a close ally of President Vladimir Putin of Russia. That's very much like saying, that Bill Gates is a close ally of President Barack Obama. Warren Buffett is a close ally of President Donald Trump. Do you know that Rex Tillerson, the head of the Exxon, is a close? Yeah, anybody who's a billionaire is a close friend of the fucking guy who runs the country. What? You show me one billionaire who doesn't have access to the president. Show me a billionaire in the United States who doesn't have access to the president. And by the way, Internet Research Agency, where have I heard that name before? And when I was reading this article, I'm like, wait a minute, I did a story about Internet Research Agency. I remember a guy had already done a story like 5 years ago on the Internet Research Agency, and he concluded it was just a troll farm. Remember, he wrote a whole story about it. I couldn't find it. I looked for it in my old shows because I know I reported on this. But what I did find was this. This is from the Assange Defense Twitter account. It says, buried in the Mueller astroturfing indictment, this goes back to February of this year, is something that we have long suspected. The Internet Research Agency, a troll farm, is geared to develop audience in socially active communities, e.g. through aligned memes, in order to spam them on behalf of anyone willing to pay. So this is an internet troll farm, and what they do is they try to get people to follow them on social media so they can spam them, meaning they can then sell their followers to advertisers. It's right there in the WikiLeaks document, which says defendants and this is from the Mueller indictment. Defendants and their co-conspirators also use the accounts to receive money from real U.S. persons in exchange for posting promotions and advertisements on the organization-controlled social media pages. Defendants and their co-conspirators typically charge certain U.S. merchants and U.S. social media sites between $25 and $50 U.S. per post for promotional content on their popular false U.S. persona accounts, including Being Patriotic account, Defend the Second account, and Blacktivist account. So they would open up these accounts that would appeal to a certain political bent of people, try to get as many people as they could to sign up for them, so then they could then spam them, sell them to advertisers. And that's right in the goddamn indictment. So we've showed you, this is just, it never ends. So, and by the way, this is from The Guardian. Here's another, this is also be interesting, because the whole time I'm reading that, I'm like, so what? So some troll farm put some memes out that even Chris Hayes makes fun of on Facebook? That's what controls our elections? Of course that's not what controls our elections. Of course that's just stupid. Of course this is more just the establishment covering up for the biggest election fraud in the history of our country, which was the primary in the Democratic Party in the 2016 election. This also means we don't have to look at any of the problems in America. Like I said, Russia didn't make 80% of our workers live paycheck to paycheck. 50% of them, of wage earners, earn less than $30,000. 30 million people still don't have health care. Russia didn't do any of that. We did this to ourselves, and we're doing it to ourselves again by pushing propaganda that distracts us from what our real problems are. Our real problems are not Russia. By the way, they do that all the time. Israel, we did a story about them having troll farms. Everybody has troll farms. Everybody tries to influence opinion. It's called politics, geoglobal politics. So this is from The Guardian. Revealed U.S. spy operation that manipulates social media. What? I'll read that again. A U.S. spy operation that manipulates social media. We're doing it. We're just as bad as Russia. I hope they declare war on us. Why don't we control their elections and get someone other than Putin elected? If that's all it takes. If all it takes is to just do some social media stuff, why don't we control their elections if they could control ours? Because that's how stupid it is. There it is. It says military sock puppet software creates fake online identities to spread pro-American propaganda. That's interesting, huh? The U.S. military is developing software that will let it secretly manipulate social media sites by using fake online personas to influence internet conversations and spread pro-American propaganda. So it's okay when we do it. That's totally normal. It's a total normal thing that you would do. But when Russia does it, we need to shut down our country. We need to kick some people off Facebook. We need to censor some other people from Google and YouTube. And we need to start bombing Syria. And we need to also put sanctions on Russia. That's when they do it. When we do it, it's cool. That's just totally what people do who love freedom. A California corporation has been awarded a contract with the United States Central Command, which oversees U.S. armed operations in the Middle East and Central Asia, to develop what it describes as an online persona management service that will allow one U.S. serviceman or woman to control up to 10 separate identities based all over the world. So there's a California corporation getting a contract from the U.S. government, from the Department of Defense, the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, to develop online personal management services so that military people can then go spam people on social media. The project has been linked by web experts to China's attempt to control and restrict free speech on the internet. Critics are likely now here's the great part. Critics are likely to complain that it will allow the U.S. military to create a false consensus in online conversations, crowd out unwelcome opinions, and smother commentaries or reports that do not correspond with its own objectives. You mean so it can do propaganda on its own people? You mean it could suppress? So this is a good way for the U.S. government to do propaganda and suppress information that is negative about the government? Yeah, that's what this is.
That's what those critics are likely to complain about. Blah, 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 blah.
The discovery that the U.S. military is developing false online personalities, known to users of social media as sock puppets. Well, the discovery that the U.S. military is developing false online personalities could also encourage, get this, it could also encourage other governments to do the same. So the United States is doing the exact thing the whole establishment media is wetting themselves over today. And the United States has been doing the exact thing. And what they say in the Guardian article is that this could encourage other governments to do the same. So what we said was, yeah, did some troll farm in Russia does Russia try to influence? Yeah, is this normal activity? Yes, this is all normal stuff. And by the way, this had been going on since 2014. Why did they just care about it and after the election? Why did no one care about it until after the wrong guy got elected? And then we pretended Russia controls our elections. So there you go. That's another great article by the New York Times. Doing great work.
It's unbelievable at this point. I mean,
It's unbelievable.
well, just look at right today, okay? It's been revealed that Facebook is selling our private messages
Right.
to Netflix and Spotify. Trump's FCC is trying to make it so that your text messages are no longer common carrier messages now. The fact that the New York Times is spending bandwidth or ink on something like this, it goes beyond not passing the laugh test. Whatever the level beyond that for absurdity is, that's where they're at this point. And I don't see it stopping.
I don't see it stopping either.
So
Great-
when they're
that's a
talking about, New York Times is talking about that military is going to influence social media. Well, is government military influencing New York Times?
right? How about that? So this is written by Scott Shane and Shira Frankel. And I don't know who they are. I don't know them personally, but did you really? This is what you wanted to do with your life? This is what you want to do? You're not embarrassed? And you call yourself journalist and you say Trump is the enemy of journalism? No, this is the enemy of journalism.
More like Scott Shame, am I right?
Am I right? Am I right? Honest to God, this as a grown-up person, this is what you're doing for a living. And you call it journalism. Why don't you go work for the National Enquirer? For real. This is called journalism. And these are the people who look down their nose at YouTube. The reason why I have a super successful show on YouTube is because you guys suck so hard. That's why, because you guys suck. And you're willingly doing it. You know better than this. That anybody who can write this article knows better than this article. And yet they did it anyway. And now you know why people get their news from YouTube. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is February 1st in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a list of all our live shows, and please become a premium member if you can. Become a patron. It's the way we support this show because they're coming at us, and we give you bonus. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Check it out. Become a patron. And if you can, make sure you're still subscribed. They unsubscribe people every day. I know it sounds crazy. It only takes a second. Please make sure and click that bell when you subscribe so they'll send you a notice when we